Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to... I've moved my microphone over, that was a bit stupid. You should still be able to hear me. Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Lots to get into tonight. What a day, what a day. You'll have seen my reaction to the game against Leeds being postponed. But there is some positive news. Injury boosts for Erik ten Hag ahead of what is actually going to be, if we're absolutely honest. And I want to get into this a little bit tonight and get your thoughts on it. What is going to be basically a pre-season for a new season starts? I don't know whether you've done the maths yet, but effectively our last Premier League game was a week ago against Arsenal. Didn't play, obviously, this week. Don't play against Leeds. That's 2 weeks. International break and then Man City away. So it's going to be 4 weeks between Premier League games. And effectively, any momentum that we built up on those wins against Liverpool, Southampton, Leicester and Arsenal will disappear, because momentum is built on being in a rhythm, being in a groove. And international breaks break rhythm anyway. 4-week breaks massively break rhythm. So effectively what Erik ten Hag is going to have to do, and there may be positives in that, which I'll talk about in a minute. I think long term there'll be negatives. But he's basically going to have to start again. Now, he can start again learning the mistakes of the past and not repeat Brentford and Brighton. But it is difficult. It is going to be difficult. But as part of that injury, as part of that effectively second pre-season, there is a positive around Donny van der Beek, Anthony Martial and Luke Shaw, to be fair. I know it's not popular to say that, but those three players will not go on international duty and will now be fully available for the October fixtures, of which there are plenty. So, and look, of course, we're going to pick up more injuries. We're going to be playing every 3 days for the next year by the looks of it. But Martial will be back by the time we play against Man City. He's expected to be back in training by sort of the 20th of September, which gives him a couple of weeks. And then Donny van der Beek was meant to be back for the Sociedad game, but still is feeling the injury. So you'd expect him to be back for the Man City game as well. And Luke Shaw is getting closer as well. So there is a Ten Hag injury boost there. And on the other hand, there's also the ability for Casemiro, Cristiano Ronaldo, who we all know are not quite up to speed yet. They get another week of intense training ahead of an international break where they'll get more game time. So we should be, as a team, in a better position fitness-wise by the time we play Man City. And I suppose you've got to cling on to every positive you can grab at a time of immense frustration for football fans, especially Manchester United fans, because I'm not going to repeat a lot of what I said in my video a couple of hours ago, but it is downright preposterous that Manchester United are not playing a Premier League game for 4 weeks, come back and play for 5 weeks, and then don't play another one for 6 weeks, and then basically for the next 5 months we'll play one every bloody 3 days, a game. So the integrity issue is there. It really is. But you've got to try and deal with the problem in front of you. I don't think any manager of Manchester United has had a more challenging first season. And I will keep banging the drum on this, as many fans like myself are very firmly in the Erik ten Hag camp, and we want him to do well. So I think it's very important that at various junctures through the season, we're very clear about the challenges that he's faced. I feel that the transfer window was chaotic and ill-prepared. And even though we ended up with good players, did we have those good players ready to start the season? No, we didn't. The Ronaldo situation, whoever was at fault for that, your player of the year, your top goal scorer, became a problem right up until the end of the transfer window, and actually isn't match sharp, let's be honest. He's now facing a situation where he's going 4 weeks without a Premier League game, and without a shadow of a doubt is going to face a ridiculously demanding schedule post-Christmas with a team that he's still getting to grips with that needs a lot of work. So this is a ridiculously challenging season for Erik ten Hag. And I would put it to you, I mean, what do you think is real? And I asked this properly, and Jan makes a great question. Jan makes a great question, why can't we play Crystal Palace? And I'll come back to that. But I genuinely want to get into this tonight as well. What is logically achievable for Manchester United this season? Not what I think, not what you think. We're not on a fair playing field now. We're not on a fair playing field. How disruptive is what's happening to us now going to impact us later in the season? And is top 4 even realistic for United anymore? We'll come back to that. Jan says, what is the situation with getting another game in? So, look, I've spoken about the game being postponed. It's postponed. We're not playing Leeds next week. The cold, harsh fact with that is that the policing for Manchester United against Leeds can be double the normal policing because it's obviously it's a big game. So that's what can happen. But there has been a few recommendations, of which people have quite rightly shot down and said, no, that's ridiculous. I mean, look, I make no apologies for what I say on Twitter in relation to this. I initially said it's ridiculous that we won't play a game for 4 weeks. I would rather us play Leeds behind closed doors to get the game played. To which I've had, blue tick big heads who think they know it all, saying, "Oh, that shows what you know about football. Imagine not playing Leeds with fans in. The fans this is one of the biggest games of the season. Fans want to see it." Yeah, I respect that. Well done. You've got an opinion. Clap yourself on the back of your head if you want to. Personally, Man United Leeds is a big game, but if you're offering me behind closed doors on Sunday, I'd do it. Because I think the integrity of the league is more important, and I think people aren't realising what's going to happen after Christmas. We are going to have too many games to play. There will literally be games like Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. There'll probably be 1 week we have to play bloody Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. It will get that stupid unless the season falls apart and we get knocked out the FA Cup and get knocked out the Europa League. Then it will get easier. But if we want to be competitive, which is what we want to be, it's impossible. It's going to be impossible to be competitive come April, March, February, May. It won't be possible because the volume of games is going to get ridiculous. So if you'd have offered me, the Leeds game, it doesn't have to be the Leeds game. Play the Palace game behind closed doors. I don't care. Play it at Selhurst Park behind closed doors. Just get the game played. I don't really care about it. And people can say, well, you're an idiot because it's about fans in the ground. Of course it's about fans in the ground. We've got some of the best fans in the world. But my personal opinion takes nothing away from fans who go to the ground. I'm just saying, for the good of our season, I think we should be playing a game this weekend. And whether it's behind closed doors or whatever, I would do it because I genuinely think we're going to be screwed. And you can bookmark it, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I think we're going to be screwed, and we needed to get a game played this weekend just to alleviate one of the pressures that will be there in the future. It's never going to happen. They're never going to play it behind closed doors because that's not what clubs want to do. They'd lose so much money from revenue and match day taking. So of course it's about money. That's, I'm not even saying that, in a bad way. Of course it's about money. The other option was to maybe play Palace at the weekend because that was one of our postponed games from yesterday. I'm hearing that it's not as easy to rearrange a game in 5 days. Obviously, we don't live in. Look, it used to be. I remember being a lad, and you would draw a game at the weekend, and the replay would be on the Wednesday. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I'm being ridiculous there. I'm pretty sure FA Cup games sometimes. In fact, I pretty much remember, and correct me if I'm wrong on this. Man United, Oldham, semi-final, 1990, drew and played the replay on the Wednesday. I might be completely wrong. I was a kid at the time, but I vividly remember it going to extra time and thinking, I'll be able to stay up late on Wednesday. So you can rearrange games in 3 days. They don't, and all these people saying you can't do it in 5 days. You can. You could rearrange Palace on Sunday. I think the issue is you'd have to do it at Old Trafford, and you wouldn't be able to do it at Selhurst Park because it's another game in London. But having said that, I think there's only one game in London on Sunday, and it's Arsenal against Brentford at 12 o'clock. So why couldn't you do Palace at Selhurst Park against United at 4:30, and there's no 4:30 game? So there were ways around it, but I think what actually has happened is that the Premier League and the clubs have just gone, it's too much hassle, we'll sort it out after Christmas. And I think that will hurt us. I think that's going to hurt Manchester United, in my opinion. Hi, Mark. I know postponements are frustrating. Don't forget Glazers out, says Devon. I don't think anybody has forgotten that. But you know what? Interestingly, I want to come back to what we're talking about in this show tonight. How much do you think this is going to impact United's season? Because some people will just go, we'll come back after the international break. It won't, it'll fly by really. You know, it's literally 2 weeks' time and we'll be talking about City. But we'll come back and people will go, oh, no more interruptions now. We'll just get on with it. Then the World Cup will hit in 5 weeks. And then we'll come back at Christmas. And then from Boxing Day to the end of May, United will play every 3 or 4 days for 6 months. 5 months. They will. That's what will happen if we're going to go far in the Europa League. That's what's going to happen. How does that impact your season? What does that do to you? And just as a little example of that, Man City play Wolves on Saturday. If they beat Wolves on Saturday and Arsenal beat Brentford on Sunday, they will be, before we play Man City, they will be, we will have 12 points. That's what's going to happen. We'll have 12 points. And if Man City win at the weekend and Arsenal win at the weekend, they'll have 17 and 18 points. So they'll be 6 and 5 points ahead of us going into the international break. Arsenal play Saturday lunchtime before we play Man City. If they win that game, they'll be on 21 points and we'll be on 12. Arsenal could be 9 points ahead of us before we play our next game. Yeah, we've got 2 games in hand, but I'm telling you what, 2 games in hand this season ain't worth the paper they're written on. I sort of agree with Sir Alex that games in hand are, I'd rather have the points on the table. But this season, oh my God, games in hand. I don't want games in hand. I want to be Arsenal at the weekend. I want to be Man City. I want to play this weekend because I know this season's a bloody nightmare. And Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta will be sat there going like this. Thank God we're playing this weekend. Because having a month off now means absolutely nothing. It's like having a sip of water and a massage before you do your marathon. You know, you want your break halfway through the marathon. You don't want it at the start. So Man City and Arsenal have got a great opportunity, and Spurs have got a great opportunity this weekend that if they can get a win, they know that 3 points is really worth 6 because the games in hand that us and Chelsea and Liverpool are going to have are going to be ridiculously hard to win after Christmas because let's have a look at the game in hands that we've got. Oh, what a surprise. Palace and Leeds. Oh, what a great couple of games in hand they are. Palace and Leeds. And no disrespect, I'm not disrespecting Palace and Leeds anyway. They're good teams. But where are we going to fit Palace and Leeds in? Oh, there's a spare Wednesday here. Oh, there's a spare Tuesday here, right in between an FA Cup quarter-final and a Europa League tie. Or right before Man City at home. We can fit you in there just after Arsenal away. You know, and I don't know what the fixtures are, but you know what I mean? We haven't got a squad that can play 3 competitive games every bloody 7 days for 5 months. So I think this is going to hurt us. I do think it's going to hurt us. And there's nothing we can do about it. You know, I was very frustrated about it when I reacted to it a couple of hours ago, but there's nothing we can do about it. Suffice to say, I think you've got to look at who's responsible for this. And it's going to get crazy after the World Cup, of course it is. But I think that we're at a disadvantage. And I think the question will not be asked because people will forget about things like they do. But the integrity of this Premier League for Manchester United this season is questionable. And therefore, you've got to look at what is achievable under Erik ten Hag. I think our ability to be competitive this season is becoming more and more difficult. Because I don't think, because you can't map it, I don't think people understand just how difficult it's going to be after Christmas. We are not playing Premier League games for 4 weeks. 2 games gone. We're not playing Premier League games for 6 weeks for the World Cup. That's another however many games gone. Hit Boxing Day, FA Cup comes in. Carabao Cup latter rounds come in. Europa League latter rounds come in. Premier League games come in. Postponed Premier League games come in. Manchester United, if we lose Bruno or we lose Eriksen, we saw it last Thursday. That midfield is in trouble. We're light up front. If we lose Varane or Martinez, it's Maguire or Lindelof. So we're not going to get that lucky. We're going to lose some of those players after Christmas. Could be Varane for 2 months. Could be Martinez for 2 months. Could be both of them for 2 months. Could be Eriksen. Could be Bruno. I'm naming players that are all going to the World Cup, by the way. So Rashford, we are in a situation where I really genuinely ask the question, what do you think is achievable this season now? Because what I thought was achievable at the start of the season was we wouldn't get top four. What I thought was achievable after the Arsenal game was we've got a chance at top four. What I think now is it's too difficult to predict, but it might be that we don't get top four because of things like what have happened over the last few days. That the sheer volumes of games are going to kill us. And people will say, well, it's only 2 games. But when you look at that schedule, it's quite a lot. So it is going to have an impact. Mark, this together with the World Cup could cause a knock-on effect in the January transfer window. Could see some more interesting deals, thought, says Louis. Well, I think that's a great point by Louis. I really do. And the problem is, there was a fantastic thread by, some people will know it and they'll whack the name in the chat, Swiss Ramble. They were talking about Man United financials, and I was reading over it, and someone was on about Glazers out earlier, and they're spot on, of course. Manchester United's financial model doesn't work. When you look at it, it doesn't work. And I know people are very Glazers out protests, fantastic. But when you actually sit down and look at the financials, and that tweet by Swiss Ramble is really, really good, it's not sustainable. They need to build a stadium. They need to invest in the squad. They need to remove players because they're killing us with their salaries and the size of the squad. That's just 3 things. We're not going to spend money in January. I don't know why we spent that money in August. It was ridiculous at the end. Panic, fear of someone trying to buy the club, I don't know. I don't see United spending money in January. I agree that there'll be a few clubs that do. 100% there will be. But if I was Man United, I'd be looking for players that weren't playing in the World Cup as well. I don't know, I keep mentioning the name, and I think Fabrizio hinted at it today. Someone was telling me that Fabrizio was saying that Liverpool were trying to get Lehmer at the end of the transfer window. Austria aren't in the World Cup. I mean, he's got 6 weeks off, comes into the team fresh. There are deals that you can do. But obviously, I think we all know Lehmer's going to go to Bayern Munich for free, isn't he, in the summer? Because Bayern Munich are brilliant at doing that. But, yeah, I mean, look, I would like to think that we're going to bring a couple of players in January, but I don't. Do you trust the Glazers to do it? Name says, sorry, Mark, disagree. You're not the only club. Arsenal's game on Thursday cancelled. Now we have to play it before the World Cup. So 9 games, October, 9 games, November. But you don't disagree with me, mate. You just acknowledge my point. This is welcome to the United Stands. I think you have got a channel for Arsenal. Maybe it's not very good. I don't know. But you're only backing up what I've just said. We're talking about United's season. Arsenal season's for you to talk about. I don't understand why your game on Thursday is not being played. Why couldn't you just, do what Rangers are doing? Rangers are playing with just the home fans, aren't they? And doing the same on the return leg. I think if I'm being very blunt, you've got clubs who are postponing games, yeah? And you make a great point about Arsenal. I don't know Arsenal's situation, but imagine Arsenal have got to play 9 games in October, November. That's ridiculous, yeah? You'd rather be playing 8 games, wouldn't you? So imagine if Arsenal had said to PSV, look, do you want to play this game behind closed doors at the Emirates? And they'd said yes. You play that game on Thursday night, it's done. You haven't got to play an extra game in October or November or whenever it is you're going to do it. So it's done, yeah? Why do you think that option hasn't been taken up? You don't need to police an empty ground. Nowhere near as you do a ground that's full. So why do you think Arsenal, PSV, UEFA don't want that game to be played behind closed doors? Money. Never forget, we saw it with the Super League. We see it with players. We see it with owners. Money is what football's all about. And the welfare of Arsenal's players and their season is probably best served playing that game behind closed doors on Thursday. It's PSV, for God's sake. It's not bloody Spurs. No, we'll fit it in October when you're already playing shitloads of games, because we'll get some fans in the ground, we can make some money. And that's what it comes down to. Money. And I think a few people have made that decision this weekend. We're not going to move fixtures about. We're not going to limit the amount of fans in the ground or anything like that. We'll do it later in the season. To hell with how it's going to impact the integrity of the league or the tournament or the tiredness of players. We'll run them into the ground because ultimately we'll be able to get fans in even if they're playing 2 days later. So, you make a good point, really. Get your questions in anyway. Really interested to see what you've got to think. The game for United on Sunday. I just want to... Edward said, why can't the game happen on Sunday? If you've not watched the video from earlier on, you should do. But I have got no problem with Man United against Leeds being postponed. It was absolutely obvious to me that was going to happen because when the Queen passed away last Thursday, you would normally have 10 days mourning period and then the funeral. So the funeral was always going to be around Sunday. It's on the Monday, which means there's going to be a massive policing requirement, and Manchester United against Leeds is a big game with a lot of policing requirements. So it was always... I remember when the Premier League said on Friday that they're postponing the games of last weekend, I said we probably won't play again until October the 2nd. And lo and behold, it happened because I think the weekend coming up was always the weekend that was going to get games postponed because it's so close to the funeral. The weekend they've just postponed was basically cancelling all football in the UK when you could have stood on the halfway line and had a round of applause, sung God Save the Queen, or done a minute's silence. But the Premier League and football and the FA decided to cancel all football instead of doing what cricket did, rugby did, horse racing did. That was the mistake. The Leeds game pretty much was always going to get postponed. I was fully expecting that. The Palace game should have happened because the police was, there was no way they couldn't have done those games. So that's where they've got this wrong. But money is what it's all about. Money's what it's all about. You think about grassroots football at the weekend, National League football, lower league football, all will go ahead. The reason the other games won't go ahead is because they won't do it unless they can get all the fans in and make the money off that. So it is what it is. Look, I think we've just got to get on with it now. Some people probably are still very frustrated about it. Personally, I think it's what bothers me is just how much it's going to impact our season. It's been done now. I think the Premier League made a massive mistake with last weekend's fixtures, but we can't go back. We can only go forward. I think it's an absolute shame that the momentum that we built up from Liverpool, Leicester, Southampton and Arsenal wins, we're basically going to have a whole pre-season and start again, and our first game is going to be Man City away. I mean, it's not great. It's not great at all. And I think it's going to be very, very, very hard for those players to go to the Etihad and have any rhythm at all, having not played Premier League football for 4 weeks. And people keep saying to me, well, you're playing on Thursday night against Sheriff. Oh, Sheriff are suddenly a decent team now, are they? Because all I've been hearing is that they're, let's play the reserves, they're shit. And suddenly we're playing our strongest team and it's a massive game for United. I mean, we do need to win it. I'm not going to preview Sheriff. We'll do that after the press conference with Ten Hag on Wednesday, isn't it? But, that is interesting. Some people are saying pick the strongest team. You may as well. Yeah, you may as well. I agree. You may as well pick the strongest team. But then again, are we just picking the strongest team because they're not playing at the weekend? That picking the strongest team against Sheriff doesn't mean that team's going to be ready to play against Man City. There's 2.5 weeks till we play Man City. So, yeah, it's not going to benefit Ten Hag playing his strongest team against Sheriff because the Man City game's so far away. People are going to go on international duty. Martial probably comes back and might go straight up front for the Man City game. I think it's more about confidence. It's more about mentality. It already feels a long time ago since we played Arsenal, and to have such a big gap could cause us issues. But we'll see. Why can't we play without the away fans? Says the Honest Tiger. I don't know. As I said, you could do that, but I don't know. I don't think that Jay. If you're saying I'm delusional, let me know why, Jay. Because that's what it's all about. Let's have a chat. But bruh, you're delusional. Just belongs in the bin, mate. Hi, Mark. We have to win our Europa group because it would mean no midweek fixtures in January or February. That's a great point from Glenn. We've already got 2 extra games to play because of these 2 postponed games after Christmas. So we've already got 2 games. No one else is going to have to play. Apart from Liverpool and Chelsea and Palace. But so we've got 2 games to play, like Liverpool, Chelsea, and Palace. But on top of that, we could have 4 games extra to play, because if we don't finish top of our Europa League group, you have to play 2 extra games. So, yeah, it's a great point from Glenn. We could be in a right state if we don't finish top of this group. Really could. And the interesting thing is, I think that Sociedad game, I mean, we've had a few injustices lately, haven't we? That Sociedad game, we shouldn't have bloody lost it. The refereeing was appalling on that penalty. But if what I'm trying to say is that Sociedad have got 3 points now. I think if we beat Sheriff twice and the Cypriot team twice, which we should do, we'll have 12 points going to Sociedad away, who I think will have 15 points, because I think they will beat all those teams as well. So I think second place in the group is going to be very, very difficult unless we're going to go to Sociedad and win. Ray says this feels sadly like post-lockdown. Says Ray. I don't think it is. I don't think it does. 39 months Ray's been a member, by the way. Thank you very much, Ray. Make sure you join the members club if you want to. You can do it by clicking the join button or the link in the chat. Thank you very much to that. 39 months as a member. That's absolutely fantastic. Well done. We're not going to be in the Conference League, Logan. And I know we're talking about the present, but what striker would you like to see at Manchester United in the future, says Rahul. You know what, Rahul? I'm really hoping that there's a striker out there that nobody really knows a lot about yet. An up-and-coming striker, you know, maybe Bundesliga or something like that, that no one really knows. We need the next, nearly said the next Werner. We don't need the next Werner. We need the next striker. Now, Osimhen's interesting. He is interesting. He's not injury prone. Most of his injuries are shoulder or head or something, or coronavirus. He's not injury prone. He is interesting, but he's going to cost a lot of money. The problem Man United have got is that Chelsea will want a top striker next summer. There'll be other clubs that want a top striker. So we sort of need to be in the Champions League. Otherwise, we're going to be fishing in the same pond next summer as we were last summer. So, Cody, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. And Tony, thank you. Welcome to the Members Club. Just as a, you know, actually, I've got some... I've got a bit of content that's going to start tomorrow that's going to be quite good. So make sure you tune in tomorrow and you will see what it's going to be. But I think it's something exciting that will, you know, liven up the next couple of weeks for you, as well as the normal stuff we're doing as well. So watch out for that. I think you're going to really enjoy it. Lukaku is still a Chelsea player. I don't think he will be Whiteout. I think they'll get rid of him. Mitrovic would be interesting at United. You know what? I was talking about this. I don't know whether anybody watched the video I did with Ben Foster this afternoon on this channel. Make sure you watch it. Really good interview. Really good chat with Ben Foster. We were talking about Sancho, which I'm going to come back to in a minute because it's interesting, the feedback that had and stuff that was going on over the weekends. But there are strikers out there that I don't know whether we should go for, but I never would have gone for Ivan Toney, but the hat-trick he scored the other day really did show how he's, I wouldn't say getting better, but just becoming an established Premier League striker. Mitrovic is interesting as well. Liao would be good, says Leo. Yeah, there are some good ones out there. Kieran, thank you very much for the super chat there. Mitrovic is very impressive this season, and he's scoring all sorts of goals. I think that he would suit the Ten Hag system as well, because he's got a lot of strings to his bow. A cam in the Austrian Bundesliga with 5 goals in 3 games and not for right back, says Trident Gaming. Lil says that Osimhen will join Phil Jones in hospital. He really won't. His injury record is a myth. Most of his injuries are shoulder and head, and they're not. A lot of Osimhen doesn't get many leg injuries, which is what injury prone is. You're not injury prone for shoulder injuries and jaw fractures and things like that. So no, I disagree that he's injury prone, to be fair. I'd love to come to Hoth and have a drink. James Cross, Benteke. I'd take Ivan Toney over Mitrovic, says Og. Liao is what Martial could have been, says Matthew McFadden. Liao is what Martial still could be, Matthew. I really do think that Anthony Martial, I'm taking him at face value here, but if he's true about what he said in his interview over the weekend, that he's been playing with injuries for the last 2 years and not been able to play at full pelt, if that's true and Ten Hag gives him the confidence and belief that Van Gaal gave him, there is still a chance for Anthony Martial. There is still a chance for Anthony Martial at Manchester United. Because if he's right, and he has been playing with injuries, and that's the reason he's become injury prone, because I'll tell you this for free. I've said it so many times. If you get a player who's out for 6 months with a knee injury on their left knee, you can pretty much guarantee in the 6 months they're back, they're going to hit an injury in their right leg. Whether it's a right knee, a right calf, a right ankle, something normally goes wrong in the stronger leg because it's had to overcompensate for so long for the injured leg. So if Martial's been carrying injuries, it always, well, not always, but predominantly, it will happen a lot that it will feed into other injuries. So look, we're taking a big leap of faith here, but if Martial's telling the truth that he has played a lot of football recently with injuries, and he's now injury-free, then, and he's got the confidence of Ten Hag, we could really see a different Martial. Having said that, he has a good pre-season, he does his Achilles in, he's out for 6 weeks. So people will say he's already proved the point that he is injury-prone. But I will give him the next one. But unfortunately as well, I did say this before Martial had spoken about his problems. Martial and Varane, at the moment, remind me a bit of Cavani, where you think everything's fine, and then the manager does the press conference on a Friday and out of the blue says, yeah, they've picked up an injury. So that is unreliable, effectively. You can't rely on these players no matter how good they are. And honestly, I know that Anthony Martial is a better forward than Alanga, but if Martial's going to miss 50% of the season and Alanga's going to be available for 100% of it, I'll have Alanga, because you need somebody who's available regularly. So we need Martial to get that. And fingers crossed, we desperately need Varane to stay fit. Icardi is a striker I always liked. He was very cheap this summer, says Thomas. It's the baggage. It's the baggage he brings, Thomas. Tony, welcome to the members club there. Thank you very much. But yeah, I hope that Martial can deliver, because I think he's a player that certainly is needed at the moment. And how do you think the current starting 11? Do you think they can play Ten Hag ball, says Anatar? Well, I think there's a lot of conversations to be had about how Man United are going to develop over the coming weeks and months. I know how we're playing at the moment, and it's not how we played with Ajax. But as we said when Ten Hag came in, and Ben Foster said on the video today, he thinks it could take a year to 18 months for Manchester United to become a team that dominates possession for 70% and sits in the opposition half. And he's probably not wrong with that prediction, because if you think about Klopp, it did take time. I think we just got so excited about pre-season that we thought, we're just going to dominate teams and have 70% possession because that's what he did in pre-season. But the Premier League's very competitive and teams won't let you do that. So he's had to, very intelligently adapt, build a team off defence and be effective on the break, which is what we have done, and we've picked up some results doing that. So it's going to be very, very interesting. You know what I fear, though, and I really fear this? I didn't like when the Man City game was anyway. Straight after the international break, being away from home. I didn't like that. And Man City are very good. So I never liked that game. I always felt it was a very difficult game. I like it even less now. Because what's been the strength of United over the last few weeks? Defence. Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Malacia, the understanding, the communication, that has been our strength. We're going to Man City, a team that dominated us there last season, with a back four that's done a good job, with a good reputation, that won't have played together in the Premier League for 4 weeks. I worry about that. Because if we get turned over, I'm telling you now, there's certain ex-players and there's certain media who will jump all over that back four because they want certain British players to be in that back four. So it worries me about the momentum that we might lose because of this big break. But Man City was always going to be a difficult game. And I go back to my initial point there. I mean, there's a few people been talking about it in the chat. What do you think the impact of these postponed games is going to have on United's season? And I'd love to say I don't think it'll have a major impact, because I think, everyone's in the same boat. But I think it's a bit like, when you're carrying a heavy load and everyone's carrying a heavy load and you've got to get from A to B and it's hot and you're carrying it. Imagine yourself, wheelbarrow full to the brim. You've got to push it for a mile with another 20 people, yeah? And it's full of big boulders, and it's hard. And halfway along, you get, after the World Cup, it gets really hard, and you're not as quick as you were, but nobody else is as well. Everyone else is finding it hard to push that wheelbarrow full of boulders, right? And then someone comes along to your wheelbarrow and puts 2 extra boulders on it. That's why I'm worried. Think of it like that. Everybody after Christmas is going to be tired with a wheelbarrow full of wheelbarrow full of boulders, and they've got to push it to the finish line, yeah? And whoever gets there is going to win the league. And maybe Man City will do it because they've got better wheels or whatever like that. But the problem I fear about United is that we're pushing the same race, and then someone goes, there's Crystal Palace and there's Leeds, 2 boulders on the top, and you didn't finish top of your Europa League, there's a couple more. And that suddenly that wheelbarrow might not be able to be pushed anymore. Or when it is, you're not going to be as quick as others. That's what worries me about it. I think it's a logical reason to be worried. I think it's a real reason to be worried. And I think it's an unfair reason to be worried. Because there will be people out there going, oh, you just got to get on with it. You just got to get on with it. But it's harder than everyone else's journey. And that, in an already hard season, could hinder us. My feeling is, and I hate to say this, I think we're in trouble. I think we're in trouble after Christmas. I just don't think we've got the squad to deal with that volume of games. And I don't think anybody does. I really don't. And I think you'll get to the point where something will have to give. The Europa League or top 4. And then when that happens, it's very risky. It worked for Mourinho. He stopped on the top 4. He went for the Europa League and we beat Ajax and we got in the Champions League. But I would like to see United pushing for both. I don't think we're going to be able to. So something's going to give, because I think what's going to happen as well is, and nobody's mentioned this yet, Ten Hag beasted this team in pre-season. They've all spoke about it. Sancho, Maguire, yeah, we've worked really hard. It's hard. Okay, that's going to catch up on players as well. The way he wants us to play, the concentration levels, the intensity, this is going to catch up on players as well. And then you're asking them to do it every 2 or 3 days. It's going to catch up on us after Christmas, I'm afraid. So I'm hoping we can have a good season, but I think it's going to be very, very difficult. And I hate that. I hate that, because before the season started, I didn't think we'd get top 4. After those 4 games winning, I thought, you know what? There's a chance. And now I feel we're not going to get it just because of pure volume and fatigue. And that's not fair. I don't like that. I'd rather say we're not going to get top 4 because, Ten Hag's job's going to take longer than I thought. But I don't actually think it is. I think we could get top 4, but I think fatigue's going to kill us. I am more worried about our squad depth. But then again, you know what? Let's be honest. Liverpool will be in the same situation. Chelsea will be in the same situation. They've both had 2 games postponed as well. So, look. All right, Arsenal, Spurs, Man City might benefit. Is there another team that can come through and benefit? We might get away with it in that sense. I'm more worried about our squad depth. Every time that Erik Ten Hag uses Shaw, Maguire, McFred, Wan-Bissaka, we are done. The drop-off in the quality of the squad is massive, says Mojo. You know what, Mojo? I was having this chat with somebody on Friday night, and they said, great point. I was boasting a little bit. I said 4 wins in a row. I'm happy with Ten Hag anyway, and I think he's a bit ahead of schedule. I think, after those first 2 games, the way he's turned it around is better than most of us thought. We've got a bit of momentum. Yeah, I'm happy. And this person said to me, okay, what's the thing that makes you happy about that team and confident? I said the back 4. The back 4 is just, for the first time in a long time, that Man United have got a defence that it will concede goals, but you don't feel like it's going to lose your games like last season. And he said, well, all right, okay, then I take that back 4 out and put Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Luke Shaw in with the same manager. What happens to your season? And I said it'll fall apart. But Ten Hag's a good manager. I said, yeah, he is. But Malacia, Dalot, Varane and Martinez suit the way Ten Hag wants to play. The 4 you've just mentioned, they've either checked out or they're not good enough. So, and that's just the defence. So there might be players like that in the midfield and in the attack. We don't need to go into that. But yeah, this is the problem. I think United have got 11 players that you can really think can do something. The problem is, do you think the 11 players who come in when they get tired or injured can come in and do something? Because as I said, Varane gets injured, you're back with Maguire. Bruno gets injured, you're not going to move Eriksen further forward, so we're going to play Fred there. Will Donny be fit? So, yeah, all I'm saying is, after Christmas, we are playing games every 3 days. You cannot pick De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Malacia, Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno, Rashford, Martial, Anthony. You can't pick them on the Sunday, on the Thursday, on the Sunday, on the Thursday, on the Sunday, and the Thursday for 5 months. You can't do that. You can't. You just can't physically do it. So those games are all going to be competitive, and you're going to have to make choices about going to that reserve 11 or whatever you think it's called. It was first time together for the back four against Liverpool, and it was like they played together for years. They made a mockery of the captain's excuse, says Glenn. I think United will continue improving this season, not just the first team but the squad. I think we will make first top four, says Remy. And that makes me sad, Remy, because the fact that you believe that and the fact that I think that's possible, imagine if it falls apart because of volumes of games. That's what's pissed me off tonight, is the fact that, and I will use that analogy time and time again, everybody's got a big pile of boulders in their wheelbarrow after Christmas, and it's going to be very hard. But unfortunately, United are going to get 2 more boulders thrown on now because of postponed games, and that is going to make it heavier and harder. That's what she said. But yeah, it's difficult. It's going to be difficult. And I don't like those sort of injustices. Whether it's justified, whether nothing else could be done. I mean, I think we'd all argue that things could have been done. But it comes back to the integrity argument. And it comes back to why it happened. And it comes back to, if we miss out on top 4 by 3 points, you're going to look back at what happened over the last weekend and you're going to go, that was it. Remember those 2 games that got postponed? If we'd have just had one of those games put on, 3 points gets us into top 4. If you miss out on top 4 by 7 points, it's irrelevant. Unless your season falls apart because of an injury crisis. So there's lots of if, buts and maybes coming after Christmas. I'm more worried about our squad depth. Every time, I've done that from Mo. Oh no, every time. Yeah, no, we've done that. He says there's a massive drop-off in quality. What do you think about November? Says Isaac. It's the World Cup, mate. Do you think we'll beat Newcastle at home going over from Ireland in October, says James? I'd fancy, you know what, I don't normally answer those sort of questions because they're very, we don't know what the situation will be, but I'd fancy Manchester United to win against most teams at home this season. We've proven we can beat Liverpool, we've proven that we've beaten Arsenal, and, you know, I like to focus on the positives. We will have a lot of injured players back for October, and you know, I'm concerned about after the World Cup. That's when the journey, the boulders, the wheelbarrow becomes harder. If you look at it logically, it's a bloody nightmare not having a Premier League game for 4 weeks. But when we do come back, we will be playing games every 3 days again. And unless we're really unlucky on international duty, we shouldn't pick up any injuries. Martial should be back. Donny should be back. Luke Shaw should be back. And people like Ronaldo and Casemiro should be more match fit. So it could benefit us in the short term. In October, we should have a lot of options. So I'd fancy us at home against anyone at the moment. Having watched the Liverpool and Arsenal games, I would fancy us at home. I think the crowd is totally different to what it was like under Solskjaer, Mourinho, Rangnick. That makes a big difference. There's a buzz about the place, and I think that Old Trafford's not the fortress it was under Sir Alex, but it's certainly better than it has been for a while. So I would fancy us. Yeah, I would. And, you know, my negativity isn't coming from Manchester United. It isn't coming from the players. It isn't coming from the fan base. My negativity is coming from the fact that, and I disagree with what you're saying, Fat. He says it's more beneficial to us. It's beneficial to us in October. I agree. In October, we'll be well rested. I think it might be disadvantageous based on rhythm that you lose from not playing more regularly. But it will hit us when we have to play more games than everybody else. That's when it will hit us. And that's what I worry about. Because, of course, we've seen it with Martial. If you lose a player for 4 weeks, sometimes you can get away with that. If Mo Salah gets injured for Liverpool with a 2-month injury at the end of October, he probably misses 3 games. And then he's back for Boxing Day because of the World Cup. So you can be injured for 2 months this season and not miss any games. But if a Man United player picks up an injury at the end of February through fatigue, pulls their hamstring, twists their ankle, they're out for 6 weeks, they probably miss 10 games, maybe 12, because you're playing 3 games a week. So, yeah, injuries will happen, and I think they will happen at the wrong time for us because of the volume of games. But I appreciate that it's speculation at the moment. We've got 4 games in November, Mark, and 3 of them are in 6 days, says Isaac. Thank you, Mark. You're the only one who talks sense. We're playing well because we haven't had many injuries. Hope we continue, says Mantel. Well, I've not looked at Man United's fixtures. I certainly know that we haven't got any so we've got City on the 2nd, Cypriot team on the Thursday. Then we've got Everton away. I mean, it's a tough comeback as well. Tough comeback. We've got Man City away, Cyprus away, Everton away. Then we're at home to the Cypriot team. Then we've got Newcastle at home. Then we play Spurs at home on the Wednesday. Then we play Chelsea on the following weekend. Then we've got Sheriff away. Then we've got West Ham at home. These games are every 3 or 4 days, by the way. Then we've got... this is going to change, but we've got Sociedad on the Thursday, Villa on the weekend, Villa midweek Carabao Cup, and then we finish off with Fulham away before the World Cup. So the volume of games in October, November is bloody relentless. So, if you're feeling down about missing out on United playing, I've been through lockdown. You've been through lockdown. I've been through summers where we haven't hardly bought anybody. I can get through United not playing a game for 2.5 weeks. And we're playing on Thursday, so really it is 2.5 weeks we've got to wait, which is basically 3 or 4 days more than we would have done because the international break is going to happen. My concern is not that United aren't playing for a couple of weeks. Plenty of things I can do, paint the fence and everything like that. Do watch-alongs on That's Football, basically. But it's the volume of games that we're going to get. It's going to get ridiculous. Thank you, Mark. That was from Manchester. I'm more worried about I've done that from Mojo. Mark, are there any good quality free agents out there we could bring in January for 6 months or so, says Mojo. Well, there'll be players that we can bring in who are coming out of contract in the season at the end of the season. But I would hope that Ten Hag is finalising his plans on who he wants to bring in and not for next season. Let's get those scouts out and about, definitely. Look, thanks everyone who's tuned in tonight. I appreciate we've had a lot of content on the channel today. We've had the reaction to the game being cancelled, the video tonight, and do check out the video with Ben Foster. We're doing that every Monday at the moment, and I really am enjoying those. So I hope you... Thank you, Ladios, as well. But if you've not watched the video with Ben Foster, I realise we've put 4 videos out today, which is a bit unusual. And I would like it if you watched the Ben Foster video, because it was very good. And we spoke about Sancho in it, which is something I didn't get to speak about in this show. So very interesting thing about Sancho chat with Ben Foster. He has his concerns about Jadon Sancho. I don't. And we sort of had a bit of a conversation about that. But it was sparked by a tweet over the weekend that got a lot of traction saying that Sancho's getting away with it and he's not that good, which I disagree with. But Ben spoke about it a little bit and was like, maybe he does need to step up a bit. So make sure you watch out that video with me and Ben Foster. It's only about 10 minutes long. And we'll be back tomorrow, of course. Got a really exciting bit of content that's coming up for you. I'll tell you about it tomorrow. I think you'll enjoy it, especially with no United game for a couple of weeks. I think you're going to really enjoy this, what we've got planned, as well as some other stuff as well. So lots to get our teeth into. And of course, we have got football coming up. So I'll be doing 7 o'clock tomorrow night on That's Football, because Champions League tomorrow night. So we can actually watch some bloody football tomorrow night on That's Football, which will be great. And actually, the sad thing is, Champions League Tuesday, Ajax Liverpool, Wednesday, Man City Dortmund, Thursday, United Sheriff, Friday, Forest Fulham, Saturday, Man City Wolves, and Spurs are playing somebody as well. And then Sunday there are games as well. So there's loads of games, just not many with United in it. Also, yes, Lee Taylor makes a great point. 1.5 million followers on Twitter. Well done to the United Stand Twitter account. Glazers out, says Lee. Thank you very much. And we're closing in on 1.5 million subscribers, as you can see as well. So please do subscribe and keep pushing for that 1.5 million. Subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and keep sharing the video. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll speak to you all tomorrow. We've got the community. Let's stay strong. Speak to you in a bit.